What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back in the video, back with another episode of Mock Draft Monday. This week, half PPR, 12-team league. We will see what the randomized spot is. We've done this 2-pick, the 4-pick. Let's get something a little bit later on, the 12-pick. All right, last pick in the draft. And this week, we're doing 2 flex spots. It's a format I really like. 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 2 flex. Gives you all the flexibility in the world. Running backs are a value, go with them. Wide receivers are a value, go with them. You can start up to 4 of either position, or it could be even 3 and 3. You can throw a tight end in there, but let's be honest, we don't really want a tight end in our flex spot. So we will see how this shakes out. I have talked about how there's a relatively clear top 12. So we'll see if we like the number 12 pick. I have not yet done, again, one of the mock draft Mondays from a later on pick. This is how the draft board has started out. Chase, Barkley, Bijan, Jefferson, Gibbs, Lamb, Genty, Neighbors, St. Brown, Puka, Derrick Henry. So Derrick Henry is not included in my top 12. And maybe that's something we can kind of look at just like a fringe top 12, because I feel like you could almost include Christian McCaffrey in that as well. But for me, it's all those wide receivers. So it's everyone just mentioned, but instead of Derrick Henry, it's Nico and Brian Thomas Jr., of course, through 12. So if we had kicked Derrick Henry out, I would have picked Nico, and then I would take Brian Thomas Jr. at this spot, and then I'd have McCaffrey, and then Derrick Henry after that. So again, the projections aren't crazy difference, but I do think it's relatively clear. That's probably your top 14, because I don't really see a case. After that, I have Devon Achane, I have Jonathan Taylor, I have Brock Bowers, A.J. Brown, Bucky Irving. That's kind of how it goes after that. I don't really think there's a case, at least right now, for any of that grouping over it. So I would say top 14. So if we're thinking about what picks we like in drafts right now, I mean, at 12, you're going to get 12 and 13, so you're getting 2 of them. At 11, you're getting 11 and 14, so you're also getting 2 of those 2. This whole range of kind of 8, 9, 10, little bit more risky because we've kind of talked about the drop off at 8. I think this top 7 is exactly the top 7 that I would do, ending with Genty, and you have it drop down into all those wide receivers just mentioned again: Puka, Neighbors, St. Brown, Nico, and Brian Thomas Jr. Kind of how I see the first round. So someone asked me again, they're doing early drafts, what pick they wanted. I would want a top 7 pick because you do get a top 7 player. But if you're not going to get that in your 12-team league, getting like 11, 12 here will also kind of get you 2 really strong players. You're basically just avoiding 8, 9, 10. That's how I see drafts right now. Of course, all of that's going to change as we make our way through the summer. So what does that mean for us here? We will hide the drafted players. We are not going to take a tight end this early. We're not going to take a quarterback this early. And I mentioned Christian McCaffrey as kind of that last top tier player for running back. And then I'd mentioned Nico Collins and Brian Thomas Jr. So we're going to take 2 of these. Obviously, we have the turn pick. What would benefit our team the most? If we are thinking about kind of what's going to be available, and this is also another strategy perspective, turn picks can be tough because you got to think about, okay, there's going to be what? Is it 22? 22 picks are going to go by between our pick, our next pick, and the one that we're at after that. So you have to try and guess a really, really large range of what's going to be available when you're trying to make the decisions. If you are here in the middle of the draft, well, now you only have this. And it's much easier to look at 10 picks and be, okay, what do I think is going to happen over 10 picks to game plan now and then what you're going to do after that. If you have to game plan 22 picks, now you're like, okay, you're taking a lot more like guesswork into it. You know, what running back's going to be available? You know, when we are picking at our next spot, I don't know why I can't get the screen here. There we go. We're picking our next spot. We got to kind of think like what general range of running back is going to be there. It's going to be this sort of range. It's going to be around Kyron, Chase Brown, James Cook, Breece Hall, Joe Mixon, but we don't know exactly what's going to be there in a way that we do know a little bit better at the middle. So another indication of maybe this season, this general like 4, 5, 6, 7 range looks pretty strong for drafts. And again, still avoiding 8, 9, 10, but it also makes 12 sometimes more risky. But again, that's enough strategy. We'll kind of go through the rest of this video. So What I mean by there is, should we take McCaffrey? Should we not take, because again, in the rankings, I have Nico and Brian Thomas Jr. If we take those 2 wide receivers, are we comfortable when it comes back, potentially double dipping at running back and going like James Cook, Breece Hall, maybe Jamar Chase is still there, maybe Kyron is still there, going one of those 2, and Hall or Mixon or Ken Walker? I don't think that would be a bad start, but we would have to do it, right? And it'd be a little bit more risky that what if this draft happens to go more running back, and instead of those guys, we have to do like Ken Walker and like Kamara or Chuba. Now we're not liking that as much. At wide receiver, let's say we took McCaffrey and then one of these wide receivers, we're looking at this general range. So Evans, McLaurin, Garrett Wilson, Adams, DJ Moore, Rice. I do feel better if we split. It's the least risky option. Again, I would love to get, Nico and Brian Thomas Jr. on our team, but I think the smarter option for us is take Nico Collins, take Christian McCaffrey, not be too risky at running back, not force ourselves to kind of go there. I think it makes a little bit more sense. And also, value-wise, it's still pretty close. This is my 12 and 13 player. It's not like we're reaching that much for him. So Nico Collins, Christian McCaffrey, and we'll see what's available after this. So we take our 2 picks. The top 3 tight ends are gone. Bowers, McBride, Kittle, in that order. Top 3 quarterbacks are gone. Josh Allen, Lamar, Jaden Daniels. Okay. Relatively even split of running back and wide receivers. So the wide receivers, Brian Thomas goes after us. A.J. Brown, London, Ladd, JSN, T, Tyreek Hill, and Mike Evans. And then the running backs, you would imagine, Achane, Bucky, JT, Jacobs, Kyron, Chase Brown, Breece, and Amarian Hampton, all off the board. So pull up the cheat sheet. If we're looking at wide receiver, still decent. McLaurin, Garrett Wilson, Adams, DJ Moore, Rashee Rice, Marv, Zay, and kind of a drop off into that next general range. At running back, also relatively decent options. James Cook, Mixon, Ken Walker, but then it starts to drop off into Kamara and everyone else. I don't want Laporta this early. I would consider Hurts. I don't know how in love with that I am. So I have Jalen Hurts at 402. We're at 312. Not ideal, obviously. In terms of the top ranked players, top ranked running backs, we'll start just starring some players off, are James Cook at 306. So we're getting about 6 spots of value, about half a round of value at that spot. Then a drop into Mixon. So I have Mixon at 404. So James Cook, pretty far and away, best running back available. We'll probably end up taking James Cook. At wide receiver, looks like we are looking at Marvin Harrison Jr. Another unfortunate thing. So what I talked about before. So Marv here is at 21 for their rankings. And if we look at their quote-unquote ADP over here, Marv isn't supposed to go for another 10 picks, roughly. We're not going to get him. And that's also the difficulty in drafting at the polls, is that you can play the ADP game so much more at 6-7. I could be like, okay, Marv's available in about 10 picks. Maybe I risk it. Maybe I take someone else, hope that I can also get Marv in the next round. But if you're sitting there with 22 picks that have to go by, you can't really play the ADP game. Everyone that you think you might be able to wait for is gone. And, if they are going to be there at the next pick, it's a horrible reach taking them. So you kind of are forced to just leave them on the board. So another reason why sometimes those mid picks are a little bit better. But yeah, kind of can't play that with this here. So Marv would be our top wide receiver. He's also mid-third round pick in the rankings. Tyreek Hill is gone. McLaurin would be after that. And again, you could play the ADP game. I only have it 2 points difference. You could take McLaurin, cross your fingers that everyone leaves Marv on the board, but it probably would not end up happening. Strategy perspective, what do we think? What do we think about the running backs right now? I think once drafts really start to roll around, this general like round 4, 5, 6 range, I think all these really good rookies are going to come off the board. So right now, Harvey's here at like running back 23, running back 25 for Hampton. Then it's Judkins is on the board, Caleb Johnson here. I do think those guys are going to kind of move a little bit earlier on to a point where again, this is more of a guess that I'm making. They're not right now. To where you'd be forced a little bit more to not wait till 5-12, 601. Right now, they are still in a good range where we can probably wait and likely end up getting one of the next pick. So I don't think double dipping at running back makes a whole lot of sense for us. We'd have McCaffrey, Cook, and Mixon, which is awesome. But then we'd probably be in a range where we like the rookie running backs, and we probably don't want to start off with 4 running backs and 1 receiver. So I do think James Cook makes a ton of sense to take at this spot, but I think it should be James Cook and a wide receiver. So we'll take James Cook. We'll pull up the wide receivers here. Again, it's either take McLaurin or hope that Marv is still there. They're saying 82% chance that Marv is not there at the next pick. Theoretically, that's not 100%, so I guess we have a small possibility. We don't have any sort of like issues stacking at this spot. We don't have another one of those players, so another player on that team, so that's not a problem. I guess I would potentially just risk it. It's not the end of the world. It's 2 points, so you're basically gambling with 2 points, saying over an entire season. So it's like almost 0.1 points per game. You're basically trying to forfeit here to hopefully the next player, because obviously Terry McLaurin will not be there. Maybe that is worth it. Yeah, maybe it's worth it. Let's try. We'll draft him. It didn't end up happening, but it is what it is, right? Where did he end up going? He goes at 408. Yeah, he probably wasn't going to be there. I think it's worth it sometimes to just kind of take that risk. Okay, the team. Again, Nico, McLaurin at wide receiver, McCaffrey, James Cook, and running back, the 2 picks. Highlights of what went by: 403, Jalen Hurts goes. 507, Joe Burrow goes. There's a pretty clear top 5 quarterbacks. We're probably not taking quarterback at this pick. Laporta goes 1 pick before us at 511. I have Laporta at 601, so actually that was pretty good value at that spot, or like that's a quality pick. That's where he should have been going. We would have definitely considered him at this spot. But I will say, in 2 flex leagues, tight end quarterback lose a little value because all you're doing is adding one more spot that cannot be quarterback. In super flex, obviously that's different, but in just a straight up 2 flex league, there's another spot in the starting lineup that you're probably only starting running back or wide receiver, increases those values, decreases the value of tight end, because again, you're probably not playing a tight end in that spot, and then decreases the value of quarterback. So you want to move them down a little bit in those formats. And the custom rankings will do that for you. A lot of running backs is the big highlight. For wide receiver, I mean, DJ Moore, Garrett Wilson, Adams, Marv, Rashee Rice, Godwin, Worthy, and Zago, but a boatload of running backs. Mixon, Chuba, Ken Walker there, Kamara, James Conner, Monty, Aaron Jones, Harvey, Henderson, Judkins, Pollard, all off the board. So a good chunk gone there. If we look at what is available to us, again, we're in a range. We just missed out on Laporta. I don't think I'm taking a tight end here. We just missed out on the top 5 quarterbacks. I'm not taking quarterback here. At wide receiver, we're looking at Devonta Smith, DK Metcalf, J-Mo, Olave, Waddle, Hunter, Tet, Pickens. A good amount of like wide receivers really like. After that range, it is going to drop off. So we are going to see a cliff. Could be beneficial to us to take 2. Among that entire group, I have Devonta Smith highest, but it's Devonta Smith, then Metcalf, then Tet, then Travis Hunter, all graded out as good picks here, with again Devonta Smith being the best one. So definitely an opportunity we could double dip. If we looked at running back, ones I like: DeAndre Swift, Caleb Johnson, drop off. Other ones I like, but pretty clear that those are the top 2 options on the board. If we look at my rankings, Caleb is at 607. It's not the best value at this spot. DeAndre Swift, 612. So we would be reaching a little bit to grab them. We can pull up our team right here. And I do feel pretty good about having McCaffrey and James Cook. I know people are scared of McCaffrey. He gets injured, but it's an incredible offense. He's an incredible player. While he's healthy, he's going to be a top 5 running back. James Cook, more that stability piece for us. But again, any running back can get injured. It's a very dangerous position. I think McCaffrey's more likely than your average running back to get injured, but it's not a lock that he's going to get injured. So this is an interesting call. Optimally, I would love to have gotten like Henderson or even Judkins, honestly. But I really would have liked to get like Henderson or Harvey with that pick. And then I'd feel really good double or like flip-flopping, going running back and wide receiver here. I don't know. I mean, Caleb's a good pick. He's going to get a lot of carries. It's just that we know that he's not going to get many receptions. And so there is some level of kind of capped ceiling there. And these wide receivers are really good. And they are going to go away. This value is going to go away at our next pick. So I think I would prefer to double dip at receiver, take our top two. I think that's probably the move. So we'll take Devonta Smith. And then I said the next one is DK Metcalf. We will end up taking him. Okay. And again, they're all going to be gone on our next one. And they are. 3 more quarterbacks go. No tight ends go off the board. So we can start looking at tight end again. Fields at 702 is too early. But Fields goes, then Justin Herbert, then Patrick Mahomes. We're in a world where Justin Fields now gets drafted ahead of Patrick Mahomes. Again, no tight ends. Even mixture of running back and wide receiver. It's pretty much the ones you'd think. I'm not going to list all of them off. But highlights are we will not be getting Travis Hunter. We will not be getting Ted McMillan. Not getting Caleb Johnson. Dunze's gone. Waddle. Warren. Swift. J-Mo. Those are the ones that I care about a little bit more that we're not going to be getting. Okay. How are things looking for us? The cheat sheet. So, McCaffrey, Cook, Nico, McLaurin, Devonta Smith, DK Metcalf. Stronger at wide receiver, but that's totally fine because we can start all of them. We can start 4 receivers, 2 running backs, and we're good to go. So value-wise, again, we're still probably leaning running back if we can, but we have, again, entered this range where it's not amazing. So I don't really want Stevenson. They've got Travion there. Like, that's not something we want to attack. Etienne, he's got to get traded. I have no idea who he'd get traded to, and running backs getting traded this late, it's not ideal. Typically, the outcome is not amazing. Charbonnet's just backup. Bigsby, again, kind of needs that Travis Etienne trade. Javonte Williams, hopefully he wins the job, but that's all you're looking for there. You've got Spears as backup. You've got Jordan Mason, who I like, but this early doesn't feel amazing taking Jordan Mason. We like Cam Scatterboo. But it's like take shots on some rookies, take shots on some backups, but it's not amazing. So I don't think I even want to go running back at this spot. Wide receivers, I like Shakir, but value-wise, I don't know how amazing that is. Juwan's interesting. I'm going to check the ranking on Juwan. Debo, Pearsall. That's probably the range I like a little bit more. Juwan I have at 705. We're at 712. That's good. Debo actually have at 701. Debo would be the top-ranked wide receiver on the board. Is Judy? No, Judy's gone. Okay. I would go Debo, Juwan, Shakir, Pearsall is kind of, and Myers in that range. This is who we're looking at. Not going to get any of them at our next pick. Again, unfortunately, we kind of can't play the ADP game. Where do I have? I have Hawkinson at 703. So right now, I'm thinking Debo and Hawkinson is probably a good combination to have. I do have Baker at 801. We're at 712. So if we wanted to go quarterback, Baker, Nix, Kyler, all really good in this range. Kyler actually 710, Baker 801, Nix 803. Holmes, who was already drafted, but just ahead of them at 706. So it's a good spot for us. But look at a lot of these teams. There's only 3 teams that have not yet taken a quarterback. I did list out 3 in that tier. It is a tier break kind of after that, but not even much. It goes down into Caleb Williams. It would 1,000% be worth risking that. It's entirely possible. If someone just doesn't want to go quarterback on one of those teams that doesn't have a quarterback yet. And it's very unlikely that then Caleb would also get taken. No one's taking a backup quarterback that early. So these are the quarterbacks we would want at our next pick right here. And I think it's almost 100% chance that one of them is left. So we wouldn't go quarterback. I don't think the value is at running back. So I think we take Debo, we take Hawkinson, and we're still loaded wide receiver. But again, that's not a problem. Because of this format, it just allows so much flexibility in the draft. The opposite could have happened. We could have gone heavy at running back and had too many running backs. But it's like taking our 5th wide receiver here. You know how much we're actually going to use Debo? A lot. There's going to be 4 bye weeks with Nico, McLaurin, Devonta, and Metcalf. Also noticing now it would be McLaurin and Debo, which I haven't yet done the study. I do want to do a study on taking 2 wide receivers in the same team. Probably not optimal in terms of a ceiling, but not terrible in terms of floor. If we were to play both of those guys like in our 2 flex spots or something like that, we're basically just saying the vast majority of weeks, one of you is going to score a touchdown. One of you is going to have a really good game. I'm just going to capitalize on that. I'm going to play you 2 as a player block and say, can you guys combine to go out and get me 25 to 27 half PPR points every week? I truly don't care which one of you does it this week versus next week. I'm going to play you as a block and just lock up these points because they are going to be a huge portion of the passing offense there. So I don't think it's a problem. It's more that they will be correlated in the bye week, so that's going to be a little bit tough. I can actually pull up. ETR did a really good. Actually, they probably already have it on here. I would say ETR made a really good graphic for bye weeks. Did they list it anywhere here? I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe it's on the screen. I just didn't see it there. But they made a good graphic. You can check on Twitter for that one. But the bye week for the Commanders is week 12. Other teams on bye that week, Denver and the Chargers and the Dolphins. So not really a problem. Again, I don't really care too much about bye weeks, but it would be more of a problem if we took 2 of the receiver and then like also had some other guys here. We don't, so that's not too much of a concern. If someone was super close, you could go with it. So if you really want to go with Juwan Jennings, you're giving up 7 points, which actually is pretty decent. That's a pretty sizable drop down. So I do think I would still prefer, given this one, I'd rather just grab Debo, play them as a block instead of dropping down to Juwan Jennings. That's what I would prefer. So I'm going to do it. We're going to take Debo. We're going to take Hawkinson. And we're liking our team right now. So as I said, one of them is still there for the quarterback. And we are going to take quarterback at this pick. Go away. Okay. Kyler goes. Baker goes. But Bo Nix is still on the board. So we're going to end up taking him here. Mark Andrews comes off the board. We have Hawkinson, so we don't care. We at this point, we want to see quarterbacks and tight ends drafted because we're not going to be taking another one. Probably, you could argue that this is late enough to double dip, but we're probably not going to take another tight end. And then even the wide receivers we talked about are gone. So Myers, Shakir, Pearsall, Ibuka's gone as well. Mooney's gone. Running backs, nothing that noteworthy, but Cam is gone. Cam and Mason, the 2 that we starred, are off the board. So we're going to take Bo next. I mean, why don't we just do it? We'll just draft him with this pick, and then we'll take Caleb off. So we really have 1 pick. Team right now, again, is lacking running back. But starting lineup right now is Bo Nix, McCaffrey, James Cook, Nico, McLaurin, Hawkinson, Devonta Smith, DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuel. We're good at receiver. We have enough very good receivers right now. We don't need to go at that position. Having said that, I like a lot of these guys. Almost I don't want to say the reverse of what we kind of talked about last week, but it goes to show you that drafts can vary at times. Kind of talked last week about how I've sometimes shied away from earlier running backs because I like the mid running backs so much. We got into a spot in this draft, unfortunately, where all the mid running backs I like in this general range, we don't have picks there, right? Our picks were way over here, and it was just a weird spot for us to get them. So maybe that'll factor into our decision of like what kind of areas we like. Another reason why the mid picks are really good. It didn't really work out for us. So I'm glad we ended up taking these 2 running backs because it's become more of a situation where the value's always been at receiver. The value is still at receiver with this pick. I like Downs. I like Pittman, Shaheed, in season long, starting to kind of fall off after that in terms of like what I actually think we'll be using. But I really like those guys. But we're at the point where, like, I kind of have to just start taking shots at running back. I mean, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bench spots left. We probably want 3 running backs and 2 receivers is probably what we want to do. And there's going to be plenty of options for us a little bit later on. Like if we go really late, I'd be fine taking a shot on, I'd be fine taking a shot on like Douglas, but like Kyle Williams, Jaden Higgins, Beach if you really wanted to. I would definitely take Higgins before Beach. Same thing with Harris. I'd take Higgins first. But like Cedric Tillman, like these guys are going to be available to us. What if we took a shot on Jalen Noel? Maybe he breaks out. Maybe he's the second best wide receiver on Houston this season. There are options to where running back, I mean, it gets very disgusting. And again, we're going to have to take 3 of them. So I think we kind of have to just start taking shots there. But again, going back to, you never really know in the draft, but in our specific draft, I'm glad we ended up taking James Cook and not taking like 2 wide receivers because our running back room would be terrible. So who could we possibly do at running back right now? I'll filter over. Tootin's not available, right? Oh, he is. Okay. So Tootin's a strong pick. I have him at 10:07, but it's at the point where we kind of have to just kind of take what's left for us. Javante's gone. Spears, Etienne, Benson. I mean, this is what we're looking at. And we only have 1 pick, so we're going to take Tootin. Basically, the thinking with Tootin is I think Etienne's going to be gone. I think there's a world where Tootin can be the number 1 running back on Jacksonville this season. That would be extraordinary value, this late in the draft. So I think we have to just kind of do it. But yeah, we're in a difficult spot. Oh wait, we have both here. Oh no, we don't. Okay, I was gonna say I was pretty sure we didn't. All right, 5 picks left because of defense. So 4 bench picks and then the defense. Luckily, not too many running backs go off the board. Rico, Ray, Urendo, Algier, Eckler, and Dylan Sampson. Caleb's gone. A couple tight ends are off the board. A lot of wide receivers. So good for us. We need to see rounds where that is happening. I think we take Benson. He's a top running back that I have still left in the rankings. I've been kind of moving him down in the rankings because I've been so ahead of ADP. My thought process is basically like, James Conner is another year older. James Conner has had many injuries in his career. They did not do anything. So it shows some level of trust for me. They didn't trust him last season. They didn't give him that many touches. And it's not like he was amazing last season. But for them to not go out and draft running back in a class that was extraordinarily good for running back, to me, that was their signal of like, okay, you are our backup. We trust you to some degree. If there's an injury, we will go with you. Unless they're the team that trades for Etienne or they trade for someone or like they sign Chubb, unless something like that happens, which I don't think is going to, it's a good signal that he's their guy. So I think that just makes sense. And basically that's what we're doing on our bench is being like, can I tell a story of how this guy does something? And if you can't really tell a story to where there's at least some level of path to them being running back too, don't draft him. Next in the rankings is Blue. I think the story is pretty clear there. Miles Sanders is potentially just not good. Probably not even potentially. Javonte Williams has averaged 3.6 and 3.7 yards per carry the last 2 seasons. He's been highly inefficient. He had every opportunity to do well in Denver last season and didn't. Maybe he's just not good anymore. That leaves Blue, who I don't think is a high-end prospect, but is explosive. And if he wins the job in Dallas as the number 1 running back, that's pretty good value. So there's the story. Draft Blue. So working out a little bit, we've got our younger running backs. We've got options. And again, we have a good wide receiver room to where we should hopefully only have to start 2 running backs each week for the first month of the season. We should hopefully have McCaffrey and Cook and not even need to worry about these younger backs breaking out. But if we needed them, I think we're looking okay at this point. So we are going to want at least 1 more wide receiver, potentially 2 more. We have 5 running backs and now 5 wide receivers. So actually, yeah, I think we just split it. We go running back, we go receiver, and we call it a day. We'll draft a defense, and we will get on out of here. So I would say Higgins. Higgins has the clearest path among all the wide receivers I've started off right now to be good. He's, most comparable to Nico Collins. Again, we have the concerns that he's not amazing on the outside. He's not amazing at like beating press man coverage, which is a problem if you're going to be an outside wide receiver. We want him on the inside, but they have Kirk and Noel. That's kind of the thesis behind why we would love Higgins to be a big slot receiver, that he would be so good in this offense if he did that. And maybe that can happen from time to time, but most of the time, Noel or Christian Kirk is probably going to be in the slot. But maybe he also just develops into a really good player. Maybe seeing relaxed coverage because Nico is on the other side makes him break out. He's a good player. I think just the upside alone is worth taking him. I forgot. That one I probably wouldn't do if we could wait. So actually, maybe we can just. Yeah, I'm not going through it. Well, maybe I should. Who would we actually take? So if I was actually putting a little bit more thought into that, I probably wouldn't take him having Nico. That's one where it's like, for him to really break out, our Nico pick probably didn't do well. It's fine to use a block for McLaurin and Debo. It's not fine to use a block for Nico and Higgins because it's so much less likely. The more likely outcome if Higgins breaks out and is worth drafting at this spot, worth playing, is that we're seeing a big reduction in Nico Collins' numbers, and that's a problem. Samuel and McLaurin can both get there at their ADP. They can both be totally fine and have good seasons and not really cannibalize each other. Whereas if we're starting Jaden Higgins every week, it is because Nico is not as valuable as we thought, and we're getting hurt with our first round pick. That's a little tough. So who would I have as the next wide receiver? It would be Trey Harris. And that would be a good 1-for-1, just being like, I'm just going to take away this rookie. I mean, Trey Harris on a per game basis last season was unreal. The yards per out run was incredible. Like per game, he was awesome. And if he had just played more games, I think he still played 8, so it's not like he played 2 games. If he just played more games, I mean, he may have been drafted a lot earlier. He can be their outside wide receiver for the Chargers. That's another one where it's like you could absolutely see a path to him being really well or doing really well. We're going to change this pick because you wouldn't draft Higgins there. Okay. Running back wise, can we tell a story? I mean, the clear story that I'm seeing right now is, does Elijah Mitchell just break out? I heard someone say, they're like, it's unlikely he breaks out this point of career. Like, he broke out as a rookie. Like, don't forget that, like, Elijah Mitchell was very, very good in his rookie season. I think he's still only like 27 years old, so he's not old. Yeah, he's injury prone. It's the 14th round. This is my last pick on the bench. I don't care if he ends up getting injured. I am just putting him on the bench to say, could you be as good as you were in San Fran? And maybe Pacheco's just not that good anymore. Maybe he gets injured. Like, there's a story here where Mitchell becomes the early down back on Kansas City. If you don't like that, I mean, good grief, you are looking at... I mean, Brashard Smith, you can tell a similar story. Just be like, maybe he's a passing down back. Oh, Jaquez Hunter. That's the guy I've kind of been following on. Actually, I probably would take Hunter. Jaquez Hunter, Woody Marks, can he kind of win the backup job in Houston? That's it. I mean, that's all I'd feel good about telling a story for. Giddens in like a full PPR, but we're in half PPR right now. But no, Hunter. I think Hunter's ADP kind of needs to just go up. I really feel strongly about the story we can tell with him. You could have also drafted Tyler Warren at that spot because it's almost a throwaway pick here. This early, if you're drafting right now at 100%, take Hunter because he has more of that upside of like, what if Kyron Williams just like got hurt during the offseason programs, in camp, in the preseason? Like, we have so much time for backup running backs to skyrocket in value. Tyler Warren is not going to become like a 3rd-round pick because something happened in the preseason. Like, that's just not going to happen. Whereas Hunter, if there was an injury to Kyron, would skyrocket, probably not the round 3, but he'd go really high. If we were like right before week 1, maybe you would want to take Warren and just kind of like be like, okay, they love him. He was a super early pick. He's going to be a huge part of the offense. If that all hits and he ends up being good, I can trade. And the number one thing you can do at tight end is trade. Every single time you sell high on a tight end and you look back at teams that did that versus teams that held them, unless you have the number 1 overall tight end, the best thing you can do is sell high on tight end. People always give up decent value. Tight ends are very volatile. Typically, you don't have guys scoring like 17 touchdowns out of nowhere. So when you can capitalize on selling high, you should do so, especially if you have another option. And so we'd have the option of like Hawkinson or Warren. If one of them started off really hot, you trade them and you still have the other one that's really good, or you trade the one that's not hot but still maybe has some value in the trade market. We don't do that though. We go with the upside of Hunter. We will take a defense here and we will exit. So there's the team. Starting lineup: Bo Nix, McCaffrey, James Cook, Nico, Terry McLaurin, Hawkinson, Devonta Smith, DK Metcalf, Chargers. I think it's a very safe and a very strong starting lineup. We've got great running backs, stable quarterback, stable tight end, and enough wide receivers that I really trust. And then the bench, I think, is good, captures upside, but also has some stability there. Debo, Tootin, Trey Benson, Blue, Trey Harris, and Jaquez Hunter. So that will do it for this week's Mock Draft Monday. We will see if I think it is a 99. I think it was the best of any expert, obviously. That'll do it for this one. We've got the live stream tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. Come to that with questions. If you have any questions, I will answer all of them live 6 p.m. tomorrow night. And then I have no idea what the Wednesday video is, but we're going to have videos Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. That'll do it for this one, though. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next Mock Draft Monday.